taking you out this morning, man. Huh? Man. Welcome to the show, Feel Good Friday. Wake up, mid-Missouri. Gas prices are going down. And I'm mixed about this because gas prices still, what's the word I'm looking for, Hannah? The gas prices still
suck.
Hey, that works. We'll put that on Stephanie's list of things that suck to counteract Oprah's list, my favorite things during the holidays. We're working on that, by the way, and our Festivus show. Gas prices going down in Missouri. Average price of gas has gone down, and basically it's just supply and demand because of fears of what's happening in the world with China, people getting ready potentially for a recession, people saying, hey, we're going to spend less money, do less traveling. One of the reasons gas prices are going down. Right now, you look across mid-Missouri, average price in Missouri, $3 a gallon. We're better than the national average at about $3.45 a gallon. And you look in Callaway, Cole County's right at $3 a gallon. Kind of pretty much the same for Boone County. Really?
I paid $2.99 in Ashland yesterday.
And here's the conflict, because people are now, they're going to say, and I'm waiting for the White House to come. And look what's happened. Gas prices have gone down. Yeah, well, they're still about 80 cents higher than they were prior to the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021. But still, ultimately, it's still good right now for my bank account. And maybe right now I'm not going to have to take money out of my bank account to forgive student debt loans. SCOTUS.
Rub it in.
It's not. We're not paying. I feel bad for Hannah.
No, you don't.
No, I do. Here's why I feel bad for Hannah. Every time student debt relief comes up, Hannah takes some heat. Listen, you don't want to throw fire at producer Hannah. You should have seen what happened, a year and a half ago when people started saying some really nasty things about a local lawmaker, Sarah Walsh. Hannah went after them on the Twitter. At producer_Hannah on Twitter. She went after, don't mess with Hannah. She'll get you.
She did it. She was very, very polite, but that she was calling them out because a few of them were rejoicing that someone had died.
Yeah.
It was, there's no other way to describe what was said. And that was just a few, but some of them were the others were just less than sympathetic, shall we say.
Yeah, that is incredibly polite. Yeah. And that's why, Houseworth, you and Hannah kind of remind me of Fox's Pete Ducey. He is so polite. Seriously, it's a compliment.
Are you Jen Psaki then?
We'll circle back. You guys remind me of Fox's Pete Ducey. He is so polite with, we say, throw shade, take down, whatever. We highlighted one yesterday, and there's a new one today. This is one from yesterday. So the White House, they're all over the Twitter. We can't believe that Elon Musk owns it, and he's going to give people freedom of speech. He's going to allow people to get on Twitter and tweet things that we disagree with or things that we think is false. So they've just been lambasting Twitter since Elon Musk took over. Just nothing nice to say about it. So Pete Ducey with an incredible question earlier this week.
When are you guys going to delete the White House Twitter account?
Why would we do that?
Well, you're saying that you're keeping an eye on Twitter because it might not be a suitable platform, so why use it?
Look.
Her answer doesn't matter. Beautiful. And that's why producer Hannah and Brian Houseworth remind me of Fox's Pete Ducey. And then he gave us another gem yesterday. The border. I spoke with somebody from the Columbia Police Department yesterday. We have reached out to Sheriff John Wheeler in Cole County. I have reached out to Dwayne Carey, Boone County Sheriff, about, hey, as we're approaching the end of the year, can you give us a handle on the number of fentanyl deaths? China ships fentanyl to Mexico, and it comes then from Mexico. It comes through our secure border, and then it kills kids here in mid-Missouri. Biden, not been to the border. So Fox's Pete Ducey asks about this.
Thank you, Corrine. Kevin McCarthy says that he invited President Biden down to the border. How does the president RSVP? We know.
And by the way, I find it disgusting that she thinks it's funny. It's okay that I think it's funny. But she's the White House. She's the White House spokesperson. She shouldn't be laughing about that.
The president's never been down to the border. The possible next speaker says that he wants him to go with him, so is he going to?
So, look, he's been there. He's been to the border.
So that's
False.
Yeah, President Joe Biden has not been to the border. Vice President
That's right.
Joe Biden, last documented, best we can tell, last documented visit from our current president of the United States going to the border to see what's happening. See, why is all this fentanyl coming here into Missouri and killing these kids? Joe Biden hasn't been to the border since 2008, the best that anybody could tell.
One thing to point out too, and you're right. That is correct.
I like that every time Brian Houseworth is getting ready to fact check me, he always, you're right.
There are no buts on this. There are no buts. He visited there as senator from Delaware as well.
40 years ago, before Hannah was born, is that when he visited?
Well, it would have been in the last 15 years.
Okay.
Because this issue, Brandon, they were talking about this very issue, although it's much more, the fentanyl wasn't coming up like it was in 1986. They were talking about this very issue. But to Brandon's question about how many overdose deaths there have been in Colombia, and I'm glad Sheriff Wheeler will get back to you, there were at least 30 overdose deaths in Colombia last year, with most or all of them fentanyl related. This is coming directly from Jeremiah Hunter on Wake Up Mid-Missouri in September. And at the time that we did the interview on September 22nd, there had been at least 25 overdose deaths. He thought it would be higher than, so we're talking about, hopefully they'll get back to you on some numbers. I'm sure over the 30 that we had last year. Almost all of them, if not all of them, fentanyl related. That comes directly from CPD, and they confirmed on the record what you just said, that it's being pressed locally overseas, coming in volume, probably most likely through Mexico, coming in from China via Mexico. That's directly from the Columbia Police Department.
So we're going to keep you updated on that. So it's just disgusting, these folks. We've been to the border is secure. And even worse, by the way, winners and losers of the week, 8:35 this morning. You got a list going there, John? All right. I think I've got a really good list this morning, and we would love for you to contribute to the list by texting us 874-9390. We do winners and losers of the week. The more localer, the more better, I think. But PolitiFact. So they did this fact check. PolitiFact, believe me, they are so full of crap, man. They did a fact check saying, claims the border is not secure. They said the border is secure. I should say via email this week, spoke with PolitiFact because they're saying, what's the biggest lie of the year? And you can make a suggestion. Well, they give you all the suggestions. That's that funneling. When it comes to surveys and polls, what do? They funnel you. When they put that survey out there, they already know how they want you to answer. And all they have to do, they can craft and funnel the question so they still get the answer that they want. Every option that they gave that you could go and vote on for the biggest lie of the year from PolitiFact, it was all criticizing Republicans and stuff. Nothing criticizing Democrats. So that way, when they come out and say biggest lie of the year was a Republican, and then it asked for suggestions. So I start typing away. I said, biggest lie of the year is anybody from the White House administration, any progressive who comes out and claims the border is secure. Here was PolitiFact's argument in saying the border was secure. They were talking about the checkpoints. Checkpoints are part of the border. Checkpoints are not the border. These people, they're lying to you. So I sent that off to PolitiFact. I said, yeah. I said, and also biggest lie of the year, I suggested PolitiFact fact check their own work and said, you guys should be the biggest lie of the year. I haven't heard back from them yet, John. They haven't reached back out to me.
Fox News, there's a reporter who actually has gone to the border many, many times, and you've seen his piece.
Bill Malugin?
Yes.
Yeah, Malugin.
And he has been all over there. He is, and he has been on those. He goes to the checkpoints, but as you mentioned, he goes to the other areas as well that are along the fences, and he's had video of them coming over. The people watching MSNBC, the people that watch Maddow, they don't know that stuff goes on. They don't know. However, there was a time, I remember watching a live shot on MSNBC, and the reporter was contradicting out in the field what the two hosts were saying. He was talking to, yes, and their faces. He basically contradicted the two hosts on the air.
Really?
Yes.
On MSNBC?
Yes. This is probably maybe a year ago. But most of the time you don't see that. Yep. But you do see it on Fox. Now, of course, the White House press secretary says this is overblown. I think she's probably talking about the checkpoints, would be my gut feeling.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah, the border is secure.
That's what they're called. But that's not. That's very, very incomplete.
Brian Houseworth hitting it out of the park already at 6:18 here on a Feel Good Friday. There's Mr. John Marsh. That's producer Hannah.
What up?
That's somebody you don't want to pick a fight with. Stephanie Bell is here. So more news on regarding student loan debt forgiveness yesterday. I guess Supreme Court keeping it saying, hold up, Joe.
Well, and I think there are 3 cases that we've heard of that have basically said, yeah, you can't do this, Biden. But it's actually the Missouri case that is going to SCOTUS. And so that was the case. It was heard at the 8th Circuit. The Biden administration rushed to the Supreme Court and said, hey, while this case is pending, while you're going to decide the merits, go ahead and let us go forward with the program, because the 8th Circuit basically said, no, you cannot issue any student debt relief. Well, again, we kind of talked about, like, if they start issuing the debt relief, can that really be undone? And the Supreme Court said, look, we're not going to do that. The program is on hold. We've made our decision. But what we are going to do is we're going to fast track the case and schedule oral arguments in late February or early March. So we saw a flurry of tweets and other social media posts by Eric Schmidt saying, we're going to SCOTUS. It's the Missouri case. I think Missouri is the lead on that case. So I wonder if someone from our own Missouri Attorney General's office will, have the opportunity to present oral argument there. But it's fun to see Missouri leading the charge on some of these really hot topics. And for me, this issue really gets me fired up because I paid my student loans, and I will be really, really cranky if I have to pay everyone else's.
If you know somebody who's a progressive, far left, oozing liberal, and they say, yes, we need student debt relief, tell them to ask a veteran who went to school on, like, the GI Bill, who had the military, they went and served our country, and that's how they paid. Ask them tell them to ask those people, tell those progressives, tell those liberals to ask those people, hey, ask a veteran who served in the military. Ask them what their take is. I doubt it will change their mind, but at least tell them to ask. Because what we hear from the White House, it's all about feelings, but it's the right thing to do. These poor people that... Listen, Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, and Clarence Thomas, they're not up there deciding on feelings, all right? It's law. It's fact. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, ask your friends at the country club. Go to your local country club and poll how many people there still have student loans and who will benefit from this program. I personally know people who drive luxury cars, who take vacations every year, who just don't prioritize paying their student loan back. And these are the people that are getting this money. It's people who have the ability to pay. So I want to be very clear that I think there are people out there, and there are already processes by which, if you are actually struggling, you can apply for relief. This is not that. And I paid my, I did the right thing. I sacrificed, I paid my loans back, and it's completely ridiculous. And it's based on the fact that, as a caller pointed out yesterday, we're still in an emergency, right? Which Biden has said we're not in anymore. It's terrible. I'm really hoping Schmidt can chalk up a win here for us.
And we talk about the Attorney General and what's happening with the student loan cases and things like that. And to our a couple of big pieces of news this week regarding Andrew Bailey being named by the governor as the next Attorney General. That's why that position, the Attorney General position, matters. Couple of quick texts before we move forward. Jamie, 874-9390. Gas prices have gone down, but diesel is still outrageous. Rob, gas $2.96 downtown Columbia. Thank you for being here this morning. Coming up daily, D.C. Rundown. What's happening underneath that tent this morning, Steph?
Well, we know one place Joe isn't going to be RSVPing to.
Okay.
Maybe
I'm running because
Good morning, 6:28, time for the morning daily DC rundown. Morning bell comes up at 8:25. Business news, little twist only Stephanie can give you right now. Daily DC rundown. Stephanie peeks underneath that circus tent in Washington, D.C. to give us a scoop on what's happening there.
So Biden is not going to be RSVPing to any invitation to Georgia because no one invited him there. But the AP is characterizing this as the culmination of Biden's support from a distance strategy. I didn't know Biden had any strategies.
So it's a strategy that he concocted.
Not that the candidates were like, hey, Biden, don't come near me. But that apparently he has this grand strategy that he is supporting them from a distance. So he's going to be in Boston, like phone banking, but he's not coming to Georgia.
That is not a strategy. That was a number of Democrat politicians all across America saying, no, it's all right, Joe. You go ahead, take your nap there in the Oval Office. We all need you to come here. It's a strategy now. Wow.
I think the polling is not looking great for Republicans, and the early voting numbers are really up. What we do know, even though Democrats had a total meltdown over the new Georgia law, more people than ever have been voting in Georgia, and it looks like the early voting numbers are way up. Also, what is happening? Big court decisions yesterday. Two things. First, the student loan debt relief is going to SCOTUS. Also, the 11th Circuit said that, you can, to the FBI, you can use all those documents that you found at Mar-a-Lago. So a blow to the Trump administration, former Trump administration there.
And the other thing happening yesterday, railroad strike averted. Coming up 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, even if you're not partaking in the recreational weed, some things that you might want to know when it comes to the workplace. We're going to do that for you 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS.
Getting married's kind of like buying a new car. You know when you see that car on the showroom floor just before you take it home? Yeah, that's as good as it's ever gonna look. Pretty soon it'll have dents and scratches, parts start to go bad, then the new models come out and you're like,
Rude.
Right, and sexist, because the same thing applies to dudes, right? If we get married, we get a few dents and dings, and the day you marry us dudes, that's about as good as we are ever going to look. It's like, so it applies to dudes, too.
I don't think so necessarily. I think a lot of people
always look good forever.
Well, that's why you shouldn't marry for looks.
And Hannah, don't let this scare you. By the way, Hannah is going to be married in less than a year.
A lot of people get hotter with age, I think.
Oh,
I
I
look
agree,
at Kevin
yeah.
Costner.
Yeah.
How old is he? He's old.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? And I think, there are people.
Look at John Marsh.
Legendary.
John Marsh gotten better looking with age. Oh, show. We started with the bar was very low from the get-go for us. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Feel Good Friday. Some of the things we're going to be doing. By the way, some pre-file action yesterday in the Capitol in Jefferson City. One of the big ones from David Tyson Smith, Democrat, reps an area in Columbia. He's got one pre-file out there that's already got a lot of folks going, Stephanie's been pouring through some of these pre-file things to find some of the sexier ones. Or I shouldn't say that. But some of the things that can be impactful to us here in mid-Missouri. We're going to do that for you. 710, 835, winners and losers of the week. You have a suggestion, please let us know. 874-9390. Gas prices, people checking in. David in Salisbury this morning, we appreciate you listening. He says $3.39 a gallon. Wow. Most places seeing about $3.01, $2.99. $2.95 gas downtown Columbia. Gas prices going down. And I'm just waiting for, in a matter of days, Corinne Jean-Pierre coming out and saying, and look at what we have done with gas prices. You know, and as I'm thinking about this, she might actually be kind of accurate. One of the reasons, according to analysts, that gas prices have been going down over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, because people know a recession's coming. And they're battening down the hatches, spending less, trying to do everything they can to save money because it's such a poor situation right now here in America. I don't say that to make you down, but it's the way it is, really. So technically, if the White House does come out and take credit for poor gas prices or lower gas prices, they would technically be correct that Joe Biden did this. He's causing the recession. That's why gas prices are causing a potential recession. That's why gas prices are going to go down. I guess they'd be accurate to take credit for it.
Why is it, though, that when gas prices get really high, we always blame the president, but when gas prices start to go down, we're very quick to not give credit to the president?
But I am giving credit to the president. Gas prices, what he has done under his leadership is so poor. People expect an impending recession, so he can take credit for this. Yeah, in a backhanded kind of way.
Wasn't there this big thing in sports this week about an announcer's jinx? I feel like there's like and so they talked about the announcer's jinx, and then the guy kicked the ball and he missed because he's like, there's no announcer's jinx. And I feel like you're jinxing us with the recession here on air. I every time you talk, because I keep hoping that, maybe things are going to get better or we're going to hold strong. But everything I'm hearing about home prices and home sales and all of that, it's really, I don't want to jinx us though. I'm hopeful.
It's like it's like the COVID thing. I haven't had COVID. I have not tested positive for COVID, and I've tested a lot recently, very recently, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he had a scratchy throat Monday morning.
Yes.
Was it Monday?
I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. So I come in and I am fine, and I call Hannah. I'm like, hey, the gas stations around here in our immediate area are closed because they can't find employees because January 20th, 2021. Can you pick up some hauls from a gas station? So Hannah brings some hauls, and we're talking, and she says, you sound bad. She says, you want me to bring you a COVID test? And I said, sure. So she brings that. I'm negative, but every time I say,
I've never had COVID.
I haven't had it yet. It's a jinx.
It's coming.
It's coming, potentially. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie, what are you feeling good about today? What are you grateful for today? We got a lot of things out there. I think things we'll do on our winners and losers of the week at 8:35. But just what? Because you're smiling this morning, which you usually are. But I think that's important to smile because, yeah, there's, food and all this and the way things are. There are some good things. And
I love the start of the holiday season, and so I attended my second holiday party already yesterday night, and it's a big weekend here in mid-Missouri for holiday events. We're having our Ashland Christmas Parade this evening in Ashland. We've also got Living Windows in downtown Jefferson City, and so we're kind of splitting our time between. Are you okay?
I'm a little bummed.
And was I supposed to invite you?
Yeah.
I was going to say he was looking at me dumbfounded.
Well, because last year, Stephanie Bell, it was our first Christmas, and she says, hey, as an older woman, I'm going to be in the parade in Ashland. And she said, would you do it with me? And I said, sure. And I went out and I babysat the kids. We sat on hay bales, and Stephanie and her friends did all the work. I just played with the kids.
Well, maybe that's why she didn't invite you back this year.
I did ask you earlier this week if you had plans on Friday night, and you made clear that you did have plans. I'm not going to blow you up about what those plans are, but that was my polite way of finding out if you were doing anything on Friday, and you are. So,
well, if it cancels,
you can come down to the parade.
I would be willing to do that.
Saturday night is also the lighted Christmas parade in California.
Very cool. There's a lot of things happening in Jefferson City, California, and Columbia. We'll cover some of those things if you're looking for stuff to do this weekend. We'll do that at 6:50. The other thing, there's a Christmas movie out this weekend. It's insane. And I don't even want to tell you the title because the title kind of... Are you familiar with the movie I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's unbearable.
Yeah. And there's another movie. The trailer came out yesterday for another movie. So there's two movies. Insane. I don't go to the movies a whole lot because I don't hear so well.
And you sleep through the movie.
And I sleep through the movies. I go in there. It's a dark theater, and I don't have to talk to anybody. It's a good place to nap. That's about all I go to the movie theaters for. And two insane movies come out this weekend. If you're looking for something different to do, we'll have that about 6:50, and a lot of holiday things happening over the weekend. So, yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, I know the Ashland Christmas Parade has to be coming up, and I got to do it with Steph last. Was honored, actually. Seriously. I was honored to be asked, and kind of disappointed that I wasn't asked this year.
You were, though. Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, if I'm being, I was just kind of like, oh, but you had a good reason.
Yeah, come on down.
Well, I may end up doing it. John, what are you feeling good about today? Very nice. Hannah, what are you grateful for?
It's one of those weeks, the long week after a short holiday week. I am just grateful that today is Friday.
Amen, sister. My name is Branden Rathert. Welcome into the show, 874-9390. If you want to share something that you're grateful for, like cool thing happened in town this week. So we're every day, obviously, inching closer to legalized recreational weed. Now, even if you don't plan to partake, there are workplaces all across mid-Missouri this morning that are kind of scrambling, according to several HR companies, because they're trying to figure out, okay, so now marijuana is legal. And there are still some places, if you fly an airplane, the weird thing about weed is, and I don't know what the case is, but it used to be back in the day, marijuana, THC could stay in your system, I think like 4, maybe even 6 weeks, depending on what strain you were hitting up, brother. But now that it's legal... Because most workplaces, you go and get a job, you got to do a P-test, but fortunately, they give you time to study for that test first. So now HR places are wondering, hey, what do we do? How do we handle this? And basically, my biggest takeaway from everybody, I spoke with an HR company in Springfield, and from what I'm seeing, basically, everybody's kind of standing around in the workplace, employers are, going, we don't know what to do. Let's see what that company does. And then that company across the street is going, we don't know how to handle this. Let's see what that company... So it sounds like there's a lot of wait and see and kind of a nod to other states. Let's see how other states that have legalized recreational weed, how they do it. But the difference is, for example, places like Washington and Oregon, California, incredibly progressive. They're saying... well, let's wait and see in the workplace, where even the political aspect aside, we're more American values here in Missouri. We're more traditional, I think, and more conservative. We're more intelligent, really. So I don't know that it's always applicable to take, okay, here's a workplace policy as it relates to legalized weed in Oregon. Let's put that same policy in place in Missouri. I don't think it's going to work. Folks asking, when can we buy it? So recreational marijuana should be available, by early February. So we're talking 2 months. Department of Health and Senior Services is going to start accepting requests to transition medical facilities licenses to full recreational facilities next week. As a matter of fact, I think next Thursday we'll have 60 days to approve those changed license requests. People saying, how much weed can I have? I think 3 ounces of the dried stuff. And can I grow at home? And yeah, am I allowed to smoke marijuana in public? Unless there is a dedicated smoking area for public consumption of marijuana, smoking in public could still get you a penalty up to $100. Remember the nation's first, largest, best homecoming parade we did about, 6 weeks ago?
Yes.
Downtown Columbia. Stephanie and I sitting at on Broadway and 9th in downtown Columbia, emceeing the parade. We're actually hanging out with Rocky Alden, wife of former Mizzou athletic director Mike Alden, and we smelled weed, which you smell it a lot anyway now. But it's not like we smelled it once. Like, we smelled it a good portion of the time that we were there at a parade. So people in downtown Columbia. I don't know if that's going to be something that people are actually going to be paying attention to.
Who's to say that alcohol is better than marijuana, right? And people show up to tailgates at 9 in the morning and start. Literally.
And we encourage it almost.
Oh yeah, and they're like, hey, the game's at 11, so here's your Bloody Mary. And so who are we to judge people who are like, you know what, alcohol's not my thing, but I enjoy a little bit of smoking, and I'm gonna do it at whatever time I want to.
Coming up 5 minutes from now, so a rundown of a lot of holiday things happening around mid-Missouri, and then some crazy movies that are opening up this weekend.
Welcome to your worst Christmas ever.
Welcome to this Christmas movie coming out this weekend. Details and highlights on that coming up 5 minutes from now on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 K.
What is it?
That is a direct hotline to Santa Claus himself.
I can talk to Santa?
All right, revelers. Welcome to your worst Christmas ever.
Let's go!
You have $300 million in your personal vault. That's what I want for Christmas.
Christmas movie out this weekend called Violent Night. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, go take the kids to see the movie Violent Night. Here's the explainer on the movie Silent Night. What a team. And I'll do it in my I love the movie guy. Who is it? There was a guy who did the movie. He voiced the movie trailers for a long time, and he was always, in a world where nothing is real, along comes the hero. He was that guy. He did it for every movie. So I'll read it like that. When a team of mercenaries breaks into a wealthy family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone inside hostage, the team isn't prepared for a surprise combatant. Santa Claus is on the grounds. And he's about to show why this Nick is no saint.
Is it supposed to be satire? Or is it legitimately supposed to be a scary movie?
I don't know if anybody knows anything about this. 874-9390. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I can't get a handle on it. Is it supposed to be kind of like Hannah said? Is it supposed to be, hey, this is cheesy and violent, and that is intentional? We want this to be cheesy. And it's a Christmas movie. So when you get done watching A Wonderful Life, you go to the movie theaters and see Violent Night. And then,
oh my gosh.
You know, I actually dig the movie Bad Santa. Billy Bob Thornton. How many times have you seen that movie, John? Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's I don't know if you've seen Bad Santa. It is sweet. There are a lot of sweet things in there. The message is sweet, but it's Santa, a drunk, alcoholic, burglar Santa with his midget black elf who robs department stores. It's insane, but it is very funny. 874-9390. Garth, what's up, bud?
This is going to knock Die Hard out as the favorite Christmas movie. I'm telling you guys, it's coming for Die Hard. This is going to be the next Die Hard movie that we're going to be talking about.
Garth, are you in the camp that Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
Well, heck yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's you got a Christmas party at the Nakatomi building, and you got ho, ho, ho. I mean, there's this comment after comment about Christmas. How can it not be a Christmas movie? Come on, everybody, get with it.
Amen, brother. Did you get your Facebook invite to the party at the Nakatomi Towers?
I don't think it got past the company firewall. But what I'm most grateful for is I'm in Colombia for business, but I get to go home this weekend and get to spend some time with my adopted dog, Fred. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Oh, man. Garth, I hope you and Fred have a great weekend, and thank you for checking in and sharing what it is that you are grateful for on a Feel Good Friday, man. We appreciate you,
All right, everybody, have a great weekend.
All right, we will see you. And then there's another movie. Now, it doesn't come out this weekend. It comes, I think, in like February or something, but there was a lot of talk. It's based on a true story. And the trailer.
Oh, boy.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
The trailer came out this weekend. So you think the idea of this Santa Claus movie, this Violent Night movie is, I don't even know how to explain it. You're going to really love this movie.
It's almost unbearable.
Hint. So we're going to do that. So coming up 7:10, there are some important things that were pre-filed in Jefferson City yesterday. Stephanie has a handle on that. Missouri, there's some Missouri Democrats. They are peeing the bed this morning. How come we're going to do that too? And then you got to hear this trailer for this insane movie that's coming out soon.
I got my motor running for a wild weekend. It's finally Friday, I'm out of control. Forget the working blues and let the good times roll. It's gonna be a rock and roll weekend. From 8 o'clock when the show begins. Get on the phone, call all your friends.
It's all freaking me out, man. It's just freaking me out.
Tell them it's going to be a rock and roll weekend. I don't want to beg, I just want to bang on the drum all day. I'm gonna bang now.
What is it that's freaking you out on a Feel Good Friday? I was chatting with Hal Dooley, does the Saturday morning show on one of our stations, KWOS, and I was asking him, I'm like, man, when you're hanging out in these coffee shops, what are people talking about? And he said it is it's inflation, it is gasoline prices, which are going down. Yay, thank you, Joe. And lack of food items on shelves. Yes. Aw. Okay. How about that? But he's saying this is what people are talking about. It is hard to find a lot of foods on a lot of the grocery stores, whether you're at Albertsons, whether you're at Mosier's or something like that. Some of these items, it's hard to find. Supply chain issues is what they say. Supply chain issues ain't affecting that COVID vaccine, though. They're all about, we'll get that to you. We'll get that to you.
Even the new iPhone 14 is being delayed.
I've heard it's not worth it. I've heard it's really glitchy and not good, that you should skip the 14.
So all these supply chain issues, but they're going to make sure you get jabbed with that COVID. By the way, large public sentiment, almost an overwhelming, I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but this more and more people, even people that, you got to mask up and you got to do this. They're kind of like, my gosh, we're done with this, man. You guys are insane and you lied to us and misled us. We are done with this stuff. So those are some of the things freaking folks out this morning. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. John Marsh, Stephanie Bell, Brian Houseworth, producer Hannah. My name is Brandon. If there was something that we can do for you, 874-9390. Big day in Jefferson City. So this past week, you've got a lot of freshman lawmakers. By the way, Maisie Boyd, best anybody can tell, she's about, and there's some nuts and bolts, but basically one of the youngest legislators ever to be serving in the Missouri House of Representatives. She reps an area, I think like St. Joseph area, and she was here on the show, even though she's out of district. Fascinating story. She was at an event. Yeah, just a fascinating interview.
She's from Hamilton, by the way.
Hamilton.
Yep.
John Marsh and I had an opportunity to chat with her the other night. She was at an event in Jefferson City, and so we spent some time with her. So a lot of these freshmen, and Jim Schulte, Fulton area, he was there. So there's a lot of buzz in Jefferson City over the past couple of days. Freshman lawmakers going through orientation and then pre-filed bills. Marsh, one or two that you kind of look at and you go, yeah, that caught my attention. Yeah, State Rep David Tyson Smith pre-files a bill to stop teenagers from buying semi-automatic and automatic guns. Pre-filed the legislation that, if passed, would prohibit teens from purchasing semi-automatic or automatic weapons.
We knew that was coming, and I agree with you both. That is a big one. When you were out, Brandon, in Idaho on your for Thanksgiving, we had Representative Cherie Tolson Reich on the program from Holesville. It was more about a Thanksgiving interview, and I actually asked her about David Tyson Smith's idea of Democrats and Republicans dining together, and she actually likes that idea. But she brought it up. I wasn't going to bring it up the day before Thanksgiving. She said this bill that you just referred to, that it won't go anywhere. It won't be. She said the committee chairmen aren't going to bring it up. She said that she may be in the super minority here in Boone County, but she's a member of the super majority. And she pretty much said this bill's not going anywhere, and if it does even pass, it'll never make it for a floor vote. She said that on air.
Yeah, another Democrat also proposed a constitutional amendment to require background checks for all firearm transfers of ownership and concealed carry permits. I don't think that's going to go anywhere either. So there were Republicans filing some stuff about guns. Republican State Rep Chris Dinkins filed a bill to expand the school protection officer program, and this would actually offer security training for teachers and administrators who want to carry a firearm in schools. So, I think it's interesting to me that Democrats are picking the gun issue because like Representative Reich said, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. The big one for me though was this Eigel bill, I think.
Bill Eigel, he was a guy, in effect, him and some of his other lawmakers, there was this battle regarding redistricting in Missouri. He's actually in town today. He's at Columbia, speaking at the Columbia Pachyderm meeting, noon o'clock today, Dickey's Barbecue.
But we talked about the state budget surplus right now. We've got a ton of money, mainly due to the federal money. And he filed a bill that basically would sweep off some of this excess into a fund. And he says he wants to use it to widen I-70, and said based on his estimates that, if we followed the provisions of his bill, took some of the excess plus contributed some every year, that we would have enough to basically reconstruct I-70. MoDOT, I think, is saying, I'm not so sure about that. So I'm sure there'll be a numbers game. But I do think, it is like a one-time fund, and it's one-time money, and that's a one-time project. I think a lot of people could get behind that.
How many times have we sat here on the show and talked about the importance, and any politician talked about the importance of the I-70 corridor, St. Louis to Kansas City, through mid-Missouri, and not just for us mid-Missourians, but the amount of commerce on a U.S. national level that comes through here. And on Sundays, when you're trying to come home from St. Louis, especially on a Thanksgiving weekend, boy, we sure could have used an extra lane on I-70.
Right.
In the rural communities, too, there's a lot of farmers that depend on it. I agree with Stephanie that Eigel bill is a big deal and certainly worthy of discussion. And MoDOT, I'm a little surprised that they are saying maybe the numbers don't match up. The bill was just filed. There's no way anybody could put together a fiscal note on that yet. That would take some time. It's certainly worth mentioning. Part of the issue is some people want to turn that into a toll highway, and the voters of this state have rejected toll roads before. So there's other possibilities to fund it as well, but certainly that Eigel bill is intriguing.
And I'll clarify my comments about MoDOT. So I guess McKenna had said they don't have any good estimates of what a 4-lane approach would be.
Okay.
And apparently I think that's because it would maybe require some of the exits and everything else, like other types of construction. That MoDOT did put out an estimate this summer that said it would be $2.75 billion to add a 3rd lane. So they know the 3-lane. They were not sure on the 4-lane.
And part of the issue, too, that Mr. McKenna has talked about, and hopefully, Brandon, we can get him on. He'll be at the governor's prayer breakfast. It's not just the 3rd lane. The issue on I-70 right here in Columbia and elsewhere is the pavement is in bad shape. They're going to have to it's in bad shape. We're talking about a lot of money. And I'm surprised. I thought maybe that with President Biden signing that infrastructure bill, they could tap some of that. But so far, that hasn't happened.
I'm actually going to be talking to him today. I'm doing This Week in Missouri Politics with Scott Fawn. So it'll be interesting as I'm looking at some of our more recent text here between David Tyson Smith and myself. Mm-hmm. So maybe we will talk about that. And you can watch This Week in Missouri Politics Sunday morning on KMOS.
And the other big topic, I think, of pre-filed bills was initiative petition reform. And we've seen this in years past. It's been debated. It hasn't really gone anywhere. I'm kind of surprised because we really haven't had that many citizen initiatives in the last cycle. And actually, if you think about it, most of the issues we voted on in the last cycle was stuff put there by the legislature. Yes. And so, but obviously there's been debate for years about how you qualify it. And then also, should there be a higher threshold for approving particularly a constitutional amendment? So I expect that to be front and center as well.
And the other bill that I think we should mention for our listening area is, and she's out of the area, but a huge name, keep your eye on her name. Her name is Carla Esslinger. She's from Wasola, rising star in the Republican Party. I mean, we've heard the potentially bigger things for her state senator right now. Her bill, Brandon, is basically it aimed at some of the Republicans in the Senate that got rid of the tax credits for the movie industry. And it's all about a show called Ozark. It's a show called Ozark.
Which is filmed in Georgia.
Yeah, it's filmed in Georgia because the supporters of this bill say they don't have the proper tax credits. And, so Jason Bateman, instead of being at the Lake of the Ozarks when he's doing these segments, he could be, although he's been there a few times, I've heard. Bottom line is a lot of that is filmed in Georgia. Her argument is, bring it here, hire Missourians. They'd have to hire a certain amount of Missourians. I've read that bill. That is very intriguing, but she may run into some issues there with her own party.
I did see a lot on tax credits, other things to be watching for. Sports betting and gaming, I think, will come back up. And then also a lot on education.
874-9390, 874-9390. So David Tyson Smith says, even though you can go in the military and fight our country using some of these weapons, but you can't do it out here. I don't understand that thought process. Les, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri. What can we do for you?
Good morning, Brandon. There was a case in California. California had a law that 18, 19-year-olds could not buy guns either, and that was struck down by a federal judge in California. Now, that's still going through the courts, but that federal judge said this is unconstitutional. What part of thou shall not infringe do you not understand? With Tyson Smith coming up and implementing and trying to push through unconstitutional laws, that's abrogating his swearing in right there, so he should not even be there if he knows, and he should know, as being a lawyer, that he can't file bills that are unconstitutional. He should be thrown out.
All right. Well, I'll ask him about that today when I see him. 874-9390. Thank you for the phone call.
Let's point something out. In fairness, he is an attorney, and he's a well-respected attorney, and it may be declared unconstitutional by a federal judge in California, but what that caller said is the key is it's still working its way through the courts. It's working its way through the courts. So, this bill that Tyson Smith, whether or not it's constitutional, I'm not an attorney, it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, we know that. Sherry Tolson-Reich told us that, but nonetheless, it is newsworthy. And Tyson Smith is doing this bill because of the shooting in St. Louis at the high school. He made that very clear.
874-9390. Hello, Joe. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm seeing these J-backs not have an accelerator lane on 63. We need an accelerator lane. They do a J-back, but then they just J it right into the oncoming lane, and we need an accelerator lane. We have asphalt. We have oil in this country. The reason it's so expensive to buy asphalt and stuff is because we're importing it. If we just go out here and drill a hole in the ground, suck that oil out of there, make our own asphalt, then we could do all our roads. I love the idea of 3 lanes and 4 and 5 lanes when you hit the cities.
Here's the thing that
a 4-lane all the way through here.
Joe, here's the thing that gets me. So, there's that one spot, and it's relatively new, and it's not high hill, but between here and St. Louis, where you have that big, giant dip, and then that big where you got to go back up, they finally expanded that to 3 lanes. I'm like, why can't you just do this from...
Right. Hey, what's really pissing me off also is when they take their brush cutter and they start cutting down the 8-10-inch trees along the highway, and it looks like hell. They need to go out there with a chainsaw and clean that mess up that they make. If they want to cut the trees back before they fix the road, want to cut the trees back before they pick the trash up, cut the trees before they fix the deceleration lanes that go up onto our ramps, anything at all, pile of asphalt. I saw 7 MoDOT workers in a crew truck driving around with one shovel in the back and a pile of asphalt with a 3-4 ton truck behind it with that gear that sticks out that keeps you from ramming. I know if you hit that thing, it protects the people in front. But what about the mentality of the people in the vehicles riding around, 7 of them, sucking up tax dollars and not doing anything?
Joe, thank you for the phone call. I hope you check in on Frost Your Buns Friday on the Gary Nolan Show. Gary Nolan's here at 9 o'clock on Fridays, does Frost Your Buns, whatever it is you want to talk about. And I agree. By the way, there were crews north of 63, on 63 north of 70 yesterday, and they were mowing. And I wish there were a way because, they go out and nobody picks the trash up before it gets mowed, and it makes mid-Missouri just look dumpy. Really quick, I want to get into this movie trailer. Came out this week. This is based on a true story. There was a story several years ago that ingested a duffel bag of cocaine. It was like Knoxville, Tennessee. With what guy? Let's do this because this story deserves some attention. I think maybe we'll do that at 7:35 because we want to move forward. Get ready for What's Hot with Hannah. What do you have for us today, Hannah?
Stephanie has been dying to ask this question on the Wake Up Facebook page about white elephant gifts and the best one you've ever given or received.
All right, so some suggestions. You want to steal some ideas from us? Hannah's going to share some of those coming up with Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
Stephanie has been really excited the past couple weeks because she's been getting her white elephant gifts ready for her holiday parties that she's headed to in the next couple weeks. And she wanted to ask the Wake Up family, what is the best white elephant gift you've ever given or received?
Now, for folks that don't know what the white elephant Christmas gift thing is.
There's a couple different ways you can do it. I've seen it done where everybody brings a gift under a certain dollar amount. Sometimes it's real gifts, and sometimes it's who can find the funniest gift, who can find the worst gift. You can do it several different ways. When I think of white elephant, I think of funny gifts that aren't legit, you know? Ashley on the Facebook page says one of the people at the party that I attended was perpetually single. Sounds like Branden Rathert. My gift was the book, It's Okay to Be Single. Of course, she picked that gift. She was mad, but my friends and I laughed about it. So yeah, white elephant, you don't know who is going to get your gift. You pick one at random. Usually you draw numbers or something like that you can steal. So it was just luck of the draw that the perpetually single friend got stuck with the book called It's Okay to Be Single.
My fave was I was at a party, and it was shortly after the Greitens resignation, and I guess he gave out copies of his book to most people in state government. And my friends thought it was hilarious because I was the political person that I drew their gift. But when I opened the Greitens book that had been re-gifted to me following him being disgraced, it was pretty awesome.
Myra got beef jerky and summer sausage, and it ended up with a vegetarian coworker.
Points. Coming up a few minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWS. Mid-Missouri town wanting to clamp down on people who rent out their homes as Airbnbs.
you guys see this? Trump had dinner at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye West and a well-known white supremacist. Seriously, you know these are crazy times when Trump is only the third most problematic person at the table.
It's freaking me out, man. Jimmy Fallon. They're one of the big stories this week. By the way, Elon Musk, he's yanked Kanye West off the Twitter. So Elon Musk, we're all celebrating. Hey, he's going to let us have freedom of speech, but not Kanye West. Listener Sean texted us a story this morning. I said, we actually already have it. Elon Musk is apparently, he likes the fact that Bill Gates put those little brain chips into the COVID vaccine. So every time we went and got a COVID vaccine, there were chips implanted into our brains by Bill Gates. Apparently, Elon Musk thinks he likes the idea. He is saying, hey, we're actually kind of looking at this. And it has to do with neurons. Now, it's not for reasons like to control you and stuff like that, but it's still an implant chip, I guess, in your brain. It's a true story. Welcome to the show. Wake up, Missouri. Sorry. Yeah. And people, anytime I bring this up, and I bring it up kind of in a lighthearted way, but I think it's a good idea, and I don't want to get real serious here, but every time we have a child that goes missing, hell, we put chips in our pets. Why do we do that? Why, Brian, why do we put chips in our pets?
I don't know.
So we can find them.
So we can find them when they get lost.
And I am thoroughly convinced that really wealthy people who have, like, what was that movie where the Taken or whatever? Like wealthier people.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, where like there's a reason for your kids to get stolen, perhaps, that they already do this, that there are people chipped out there for tracking purposes.
I mean, my phone has a tracker on it.
Yeah. And then we use those phones to track our loved ones, the electronic leash, because I want to know where you are at all times. I really honestly, and I know people go, whoa, you can't do that. But really, ask any parent who has ever had a child go missing. We put chips. Hell, I bet there's some people that will even put a microchip in their cat. I get putting a microchip in your dog. Your dog goes missing. Yeah, I want to know where it is. Our kids, yeah, whatever. Put microchips in kids. So if they go missing, you can track them. But let's not talk about that because I know the kind of, you can't go and do that. We'll do it in our dogs. We want to find our dogs, but not our kids. Welcome to the show. Feel Good Friday. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Mr. Brian Houseworth in the house.
We've got a big football game today. Yeah. I mean, this is as big as anything that we're going to see in terms of two teams. Kevin Kelly will have a great call today, and hope for good weather. It's going to be very windy. Punting will be almost impossible in this kind of wind and coming up today. But Blair Oaks and Lamar, they don't punt. They do, and by the same token, Lamar does as well. But I have a feeling both of these teams may be punting a little bit today just because they're that good. But gosh, it's going to be a great game.
Wasn't it Harrison Butker a couple of years ago for the Chiefs because the Chiefs score more often than Charlie Sheen, and Harrison Butker one time comes out onto the field. And he says to Patrick Mahomes as they're crossing paths, he's like, hey, man, thanks for letting me get onto the field today. It's going to be like that with Blair Oaks, you think, John?
They had one loss to Seneca, but then they turned around in the playoffs and beat Seneca by 40. And the thing about Lamar is, and Blair Oaks is loaded, Dylan Hare, goodness gracious, unbelievable what he's done. But Lamar has won 8 state championships since 2011. And they're just really, really good. In fact, their coach left Lamar to come up to Jeff City and only stayed with the J program for a few. He was pretty frustrated. He didn't like it there. I don't know. I believe he's back at Lamar, Webb City, one of those schools, but should be a great game.
This off the text, something I'm grateful for today, something I'm feeling good about on a Feel Good Friday. My daughter and the Columbia College volleyball team playing in nationals this week and made it to the Elite Eight. Very proud of those young ladies.
That's
How
awesome.
about that? Before we get on, there's a mid-Missouri town, and they're talking about regulations as it relates to short-term rental owners, Airbnbs. We're going to cover that here, but I got to get to this. We're talking about the movie Violent Night. comes out this weekend. Yeah, I know.
And Houseworth makes his exit.
Houseworth out.
See ya.
Movie trailer for the movie Violent Night.
What is it?
That is a direct hotline to Santa Claus himself.
I can talk to Santa.
All right, revelers. Welcome to your worst Christmas ever.
Let's go!
And what it is, it's these mercenaries. They bust into a rich family's home, but their Santa Claus is there with his machine gun, and him and Rudolph, they go out and save the day. There's a movie trailer. It's not coming out until February, but there's a movie trailer that was released this week, and it is phenomenal. Have you seen the trailer, Hannah, or are you just familiar with the concept of this movie?
I'm familiar with the concept.
All right, Marsh, you familiar?
Our friend Shags from one of our sister stations has been very, very excited about this movie.
So back in 1985, this was, Steph, were you born yet in 85?
No comment.
No comment. Hannah was not here. But there was this drug smuggler, Andrew Thorne. He dumped a duffel bag of cocaine. He's flying. He's over north in Georgia, and I guess he's getting the idea the feds are getting onto him. So he takes these the duffel bag full of cocaine, drops him, and apparently a black bear just sniffing around for berries and stuff. He got a snootful. So this bear weighs 175 pounds. Bears will eat anything, by the way, including, in some circumstances, you. So the bear apparently proceeded to eat the 175 pounds of cocaine. The bear discovered months later, lying dead among some 40. God, you can't like this. That'll teach him. This is a true story. Some 40-odd empty cocaine containers, presumably having overdosed on the drug. And there's some familiar names in it. Elizabeth Banks. She's one of those, don't know the name, but if you saw the face, you'd go, oh, yeah, I know who. Yeah, so Ray Liotta, who died, this is his final screen performance. Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who I think played the redheaded dude on, what's the Modern Family, Kerry Russell. So the movie is based on a true story to give you an idea of how this works. This is almost like the White House. Our comments are based on a true story, even though they are not accurate. So this movie has this bear going around taking part in violent, bloody killings. Bear chases down an ambulance. The bear snorts cocaine off a severed leg and then stops to admire butterflies.
Millions of dollars worth of cocaine fell from the sky this morning in Knoxville, Tennessee.
There's more of this out there. They dumped it somewhere.
I'm looking for my daughter. Forest is a dangerous place.
Hey, Henry, check it out. Something got into it. A deer, maybe.
A lot of cocaine was lost. I need you to go and get it.
No, don't eat that, don't eat that. Let's see what kind of effect that has on
The bear did cocaine. A bear did cocaine.
There was a bear.
A bear?
So now this bear...
The acting even sounds bad.
Yeah. Yes. Like, I have, last time I went to a movie, it's been almost 3 years ago. It was the Joker movie, and I can't remember who starred in it. Didn't even stay for the whole, so it's been a long time since I have been in a movie theater. I would go and see this movie expecting that I would not enjoy it. I would enjoy it because of its cheesiness. Yeah, this bear running around the woods, pulling out dollar bills and snorting up the cocaine. So this bear had become so popular that it's displayed inside the Kentucky Fun Mall. People come by, there's this stuffed bear that died of a cocaine overdose, and they go and they get their pictures taken with it.
Did you see there was another trailer that came out yesterday for Indiana Jones 5?
Oh, God, no. Well, the reason I say, oh, God, no, Indiana Jones 4, I was real hopeful for, 14, 15 years ago. I thought back then Harrison Ford should be done. But now there's an Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah, he is 80 years old, and the movie takes place in the 1960s, and they're doing something kind of cool, and they're going to make him look younger using, like, CGI effects throughout the whole movie. I'm serious.
Gosh. So there's a town in mid-Missouri, and I'll give you an opportunity to guess. They want to clamp down. They want to control what you do with your property. Yeah, it's Columbia. You're right. That wasn't a hard one, was it, Marsh? People's Republic of Colombian is what they're doing. They're trying to propose regulations as it relates to short-term rental owners. So people that have properties and they take their property and say, hey, I want to rent this out. People at Airbnbs. Jim Yankee chatting with ABC 17. He's not pleased with this.
You are. You're putting small business owners out of business. You're restricting property rights, which is a pretty clear violation of the Constitution. I mean, you're just telling people that they can't earn income off of their property. And I just think on many levels, it's not fair. It's not right. It's not fair to small business. It's not good for our community.
Amen, brother Jim Yankee. I don't know you, but I agree with you. But I wonder, but what about your neighbors? Let's say you have a house and you rent it out, or your neighbor has an Airbnb. And every weekend you got strangers coming in, loading up and taking off. If you're a neighbor to that house, does that affect you? Does that bother you? I think that's a...
Yeah, but I...
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I at one point lived next to someone who was older and kind of like let their young family member house sit, and there are people in and out and in and out. I mean, nothing prevents like a regular homeowner from having kind of bizarro activities at their home, right? And John, you'll have to help me remember, but Jeff City had this debate a number of years ago. It was really early on with Airbnb, and they were going to, I could think retroactively say, okay, well, you can't have, Airbnbs in nicer neighborhoods or in areas that aren't, mixed zoning. And well, but I think it ended up that, yeah, you can have Airbnbs basically in most places because a lot of the folks already had their Airbnbs set up and they're thinking, well, I already have this and now you're going to take it away. And, and I think for the most part, I haven't heard of big rumblings about, oh my gosh, Airbnb. I mean, have you stayed in an Airbnb lately? I stayed in one in Nashville. Those things are expensive, so I think most people who live in proximity to an Airbnb, the kind of people who stay there aren't giving them a lot of headaches. I could be wrong, but
I stayed at an Airbnb last summer, and we got several warnings from the Airbnb owner about the neighbors. Basically saying the neighbors looked for any excuse to call the cops because they didn't like the fact that they were living next to an Airbnb. So we had to be really careful about where we parked our cars, like how loud we were in the evening, things like that. And luckily, we didn't have any issues, but the owner made it sound like it's been an ongoing thing for quite a while.
So the city of Columbia, same people that put people out of business because they didn't want you to allow a certain number of people into your businesses during the COVID thing. Now they want to take away potentially, maybe they're talking about it, your ability to do rent out your property if you would like, and then they want to take the COVID relief money and give it to homelessness, which that's okay to an extent, but the extent they're doing it, that is leadership in Columbia. We are doing our holiday
I really deeply wish that I had taken, like, a lot more responsibility.
Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, the FTX guy. He's the one that basically, I guess, duped celebrity investors, Tom Brady amongst those, billions of dollars, and apparently funneled it to Democrats. I like the apology.
I really deeply wish that I had taken, like, a lot more responsibility.
Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I wished I'd taken more responsibility. My bad.
$26.5 billion down the toilet.
Like, I'm sorry. Wow. Welcome into the show, Feel Good Friday. Stephanie Powell, producer Hannah, John Marsh. I am Branden Rathert. One of the things that we are doing this year, our Holiday Wish program, we're trying to help out Mid-Missourians that need some help here during the holidays. And we know everybody, we feel like we want to do something during this time of the year. People like Hibbett Sports, Love Columbia, Common Ground. You can go to our websites, 939theeagle.com, kwos.com, and you can submit a wish there. D. Rose, Missouri Vein Care. We're chatting with a Michelle Smith, small, very tight family, but needing some help here during the holidays with the kids. Michelle, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Tell us a little bit about what's going on at your house.
Well, I'm a single mom. My son, at the age of 16, was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease that affects the digestive tract. He ends up in the hospital. His first stint in the hospital was like 31 days total. The first year after he got out of the hospital, it was medicine infusions, and so it took us a really long time to just really get him healthy. October, he had another flare and ended up in the hospital for another 5 days. He's doing better now, but yeah, there's lots of bills. There was a time that I was without work. I have an 18-year-old daughter who is a senior and has been a really big support for her brother. The three of us are all very, very close. There's expenses with her senior year coming up, and I just want to make sure that she has everything that she needs, to get ready for college. So,
wow. Well, and we want to help. So we're going to do some things here. We're going to make sure that you get some help. Make sure because your daughter getting ready to go to college. She shouldn't be stressing at that. So we're going to hook you up. Thanks to D. Rose, Missouri Vein Care, Hibbett Sports, Love Columbia, and Common Ground in Jefferson City. Okay? Thank you. And thank you for your support. If there's somebody that needs some help, because, listen, you say what you will, but ultimately, we just want to try to help folks. I mean, you've got a family, you've got a daughter getting ready to go to college, you've got a sick brother helping her mom. And the daughter, she shouldn't have to be worrying about some of those things. Go to the websites, 939theeagle.com, kwos.com. You can submit your wish there. Coming up, 8:35, winners and losers of the week. Get your submissions into us now via text, 874-9390. Pre-file yesterday in Jefferson City been hopping. Legislative session starts just a little over a month from now. Lawmakers are going to be gathering, they're crafting and doing bills that will impact us. Remember some of the impacts of what didn't happen last year, not just for us Missourians. You look at the impact, those things that we were talking about, January, February, March, April, and up through May's special session, especially as it relates to, we can look at redistricting. We were talking about how the impacts, what some of the impacts could be, and look at what happened. Parts of mid-Missouri, we lost 2 Republican seats. The seat number 50, House seat number 50, lost that because of redistricting, because of things we were talking about earlier this year in the legislative session, the seat formerly held by Chuck Basie. We've lost that seat. So as we were talking about those things last January, February, and March, we can see the impact. We can see the end results of those things. So some pre-files. I think the big one yesterday, David Tyson Smith, he's filing legislation regarding people under the age of 20 buying automatic guns and semi-automatics. And meanwhile, there's some apparently some bitterness within the Democrat Party in Missouri.
Putting it mildly.
As I'm scrolling, so if you're on the Twitter and you're Twitter challenged like Brandon, you can throw in the hashtag. I call it MoLeg. I think some people call it MoLeg. Anyway, hashtag MoLeg, and you can find out what's going on in the legislature. I thought, I'm going to get on this hashtag and I'm going to see what was pre-filed. And instead, I found the Missouri Dems airing their dirty laundry. And it's been fascinating. It started about 12 hours ago. And from what I've gathered, and I don't know all of these individuals, but it appears Randy McCallion, she was down in the 8th Congressional, sent some texts to Michael Butler. Michael Butler is the chair of the Missouri Democratic Party. She said, hey, I'm thinking about running for vice chair. And he got a little bit snarky and was like, hey, are you joking? Aren't you the one who hates the party or said bad things about the party? And she was like, why are you being so unprofessional? So she gets on Twitter, publishes the tweets. Now they're calling Michael Butler like a misogynist and like this isn't, professional and all this. So then he gets on Twitter to defend himself. And in doing so, says what a horrible vice chair Genevieve Williams has been. And now, and I think bottom line is Laura Burkhart, who just said, I'm going to be real for a minute. You want to know why Mo-Dems didn't flip all the seats we worked so hard for? This petty BS is what sinks the ship. But it is, it's going and going. I mean, it's still going. I think it's going to get worse today.
So these Democrats are taking a page from the Republicans from late in the session earlier this year, late session?
It's nasty.
And the thing about it is, it wouldn't matter who the chair or the vice chair is; they would be in the super minority. It's just what neither one of those two. I don't think they focus a lot on this St. Louis City, St. Louis County, Kansas City, and to their credit, they focused on Boone County, but they have done a poor job. Let's be honest, of running people in the rural areas. I mean, almost all the rural seats, and they touch on this. Actually, she does, Stephanie, in those tweets, that they just let those seats basically be uncontested. They ran one real serious candidate. Her name was Jess Piper, and she raised thousands and thousands of dollars. Some Democrats wanted some of that money sent elsewhere, but it went up to Northwest Missouri. I think she got 25% of the vote, Jess Piper. But Butler really calls her out. This, not Piper, but this Genevieve down there in the 8th District. And we'll see what happens. In the end, the Republicans will, just because of geography, the fact that the Democrats basically have zero influence in rural Missouri, that is where it's, these numbers are going to stay pretty consistent. To your point, one more thing, Brandon, the Republicans focused so much on Clean Missouri when they were upset about Clean Missouri. That would have been a nonpartisan demographer in the state auditor's office, and they were worried Nicole Galloway would somehow, I'm not exactly sure what they were suggesting, but it would hurt them in the elections. The reality is the map that came out that affected the 50th and the 47th No Republican could have expected that. Those seats were completely redrawn, and those surprised me. And the Democrats now control 4 of the 5.
And that Jess Piper, she's is firebrand the right cliche to use? She's kind of a Missouri social media star, ran unsuccessfully for office, calls herself a dirt road Democrat. Actually, be hanging out with her this weekend. She's on This Week in Missouri Politics with David Tyson Smith, Rudy Veit, and I'll be part of that show too. You can watch it on KMOS coming up on Sunday. This Week in Missouri Politics with Scott Fahn. She gets people ignited. She didn't get people to the polls to vote for her.
The thing about it is she has a huge amount of social media support, but it comes clearly from the urban and suburban areas, and because in that area with that kind of money, 25% of the vote. And I know she was out there campaigning door to door to door. The reality is rural Missouri is ruby red. It is ruby red right now.
But her name's kind of been floated lately as somebody they might put up on statewide office, that although she probably can't win in a rural Missouri district, if she, gets up more on the statewide stage, she could get the support of those urban voters. I still don't think she stands a chance, but they can try.
They can, and certainly somebody who, I'm glad you're going to have her on, and hopefully she can come. I mean, it's her, she's pretty aggressive, calls out sometimes the Republicans by name in the legislature, but she certainly has a big following, and she campaigned and spent a lot of time going door to door to door. And her big thing has been Medicaid expansion and things like that. David Tyson Smith has made it very clear, by the way, he wants Medicaid expansion to be funded, something else he's prioritized. I haven't seen that bill pre-filed yet. That doesn't mean he hasn't done it, but that is a priority for her. Jess Piper's really concerned because a lot of these hospitals, about 10 to 12 of them the last 8 years have closed. That's been another issue she's talked about.
Marsh, anything catch your eye as it relates to pre-file? Yeah. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Brian Hausworth. There's producer Hannah. My name is Branden Rathert. Feel Good Friday. Something you're feeling good about, let us know. 874-9390. Steel Magnolias is from Christy. Steel Magnolias opens tonight at Columbia Entertainment Company. And my daughter is playing Shelby. Well, congratulations. How about that? Also off the text. What time, John, what time are the events in Jeff City tonight? I missed what was just said.
Yeah, and just a couple more times there. 5:45 will be the actual opening today. 5:45 downtown Jeff City with Mayor Turgeon and some Christmas characters. That'll be at Hawthorne Bank. That'll give people the chance to walk down and light the governor's tree at 6, and then that parade tomorrow in Jeff City that John referenced will be 4:30. It's huge for people who haven't gone. I mean, thousands and thousands of people. They have to shut a lot of streets down. Basically, if you're going to St. Peter's Mass tomorrow downtown at 5 o'clock Mass, you're going to have to get there probably an hour and a half early, or you won't be able to even park near the church.
By the way, there's events in Ashland tonight.
Mm-hmm. We've got a parade. It starts at 5.
You're in it. You better know, kiddo.
I think the lineup is at 5:30. And that's what so I think the parade actually starts at 6.
And I love this in Centralia. They do the Polar Express train kind of thing. And I think that starts tonight. And I love this. I had never seen the movie Polar Express. Happened to see it twice over the Thanksgiving holiday with the grandkids. What a lovely movie. I'm kind of disappointed that I hadn't watched it earlier, but that's happening in Centralia. The Magic Tree, which was lit last night by our good bud Cosmo from Y107. Tonight they're doing these picnics. You get like these heated bubbles, and you can, this big. It's like an igloo, except it's clear plastic. It's heated.
I've done one of those. It's super fun.
And Winter Wonderland is tonight, too, at Shelter Gardens from 6 to 8, and they have a big display. VU's event will start with the lights next week. We'll talk more about that Monday.
Okay, Ashland Parade, 6:30. Lineup starts at 5:30.
6:30. Lineup starts at 5:30. So plenty of activities happening over the weekend. And thankfully, I think we have all the supplies we need for our Christmas holiday around mid-Missouri because railroad strike has been averted. Yesterday in Washington, D.C., this had been a fight for a while. Josh Hawley's take on the vote on the railroad strike. Now, he voted against, in effect, saying, no, you're not going to do this.
I'm not going to be part of cramming down a contract that the workers voted no on. I'm not going to use the federal government to cram that down their throats.
That's basically very similar, and people have to listen to that closely. Very similar argument to what Bernie Sanders said. And so, no, it is.
Josh Hawley said something that sounded like Bernie Sanders.
And that happens more often than people realize because both of them have their supporters would never acknowledge that, but they do, particularly on worker rights. But on this one, they basically said the same thing. I thought that was Bernie Sanders there for a second. That's literally.
I mean, it reminds me of people say, that people talk about the political spectrum, but they say it's actually not a line, like it kind of goes to a circle, and when you get way out on the ends on both sides, it kind of touches at some point back. So interesting.
They're both populists. There's no doubt about that. They have more in common than either one would probably acknowledge.
But what's interesting is Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley voted differently on the actual bill, and then there was a separate vote on whether or not to offer paid sick leave for workers, and they also voted differently. Basically, what I call that canceling each other out, right? On the sick leave. So there was a vote to add 7 days of paid sick leave for workers. Blunt voted no. Hawley voted yes. Interesting.
And that's not the first time they've voted on the polar opposite of things.
And I wonder when Schmidt, shows up, if he will be more in the vein of Blunt or if he will, align with Hawley and we'll get 2 votes on it. I don't know. I honestly, I'm not sure.
And that's why it's fun to watch because we don't know. We will know coming up in January. By the way, the Polar Express Christmas trolley in Centralia, that starts tonight and actually goes through December 22nd. Coming up a few minutes from now, we are going to be doing your morning bell. I know some job numbers have come out today. We're going to get into that. We'll do that for you here in 5 minutes on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Good morning, 8:26, time for the Morning Bell Business News. Little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Jobs report is in this morning. The U.S. economy added 263,000 jobs, which is pretty consistent with the last couple months, but is actually better than expected. It has sent stock futures tumbling this morning. When you pull up the Wall Street Journal, it's red across the top for all of the futures indexes. So what does that mean? People aren't really sure.
I don't know. You're right.
And so there's been a lot of layoffs, but the layoffs have mainly been in big tech, and then also in areas like housing and finance that are significantly affected by the raising interest rates. And but that is also shedding a lot of talent that other folks who are struggling to hire, are now able to hire some of these really talented folks. So there is still a lot of hiring going. And one analyst said, hey, before you start seeing massive widespread layoffs, typically you see a slowing in the hiring because people will slow their hiring before they will go lay a bunch of people off. And it's not happening quite like that. And we did hear from the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, earlier this week, and they've been hiking that interest rate 0.75 the last four times they've met, and now he's saying it might be 0.5 next time. We heard that. So everyone thinks they know how this is going to go, and thinks we're headed into a recession, and thinks that jobs are going to come down, and the analysts have been off, and so they're like, why are there so many jobs again? Hold on.
Yeah, and the gas, you may have noticed gas prices coming down over the past couple of weeks, still well above where they were January 20th of 2021 when Joe stumbled into office. Gas prices going down because of fears of a recession. That is one of, there's several reasons, but that is definitely one of them. Gannett, which I think it's Gannett that owns USA Today and owns like the Indianapolis Star. They own a variety of newspapers, and I think they own Gatehouse Media, who I think owns one of our local papers in mid-Missouri, Columbia Daily Tribune, I think. They're laying off 6% of their workforce. Two reasons. Nobody buys newspapers anymore, so they're relying on website traffic. One of the things about Gannett, like if you ever get onto usatoday.com, and I will look at, if I'm comparing a couple of local newspapers, for example, Columbia Missourian, Columbia Daily Tribune, we can include the Jefferson City News Tribune in there. Columbia Missourian, all accounts, I think, is doing well. And people like USA Today, you get on their website, there's some stories for subscribers only for subscribers. In other words, you have to pay. And I'll tell you what, you pay for a subscription. There's some local papers, they charge more for their local newspapers than they do for the New York Times, by the way. Mm-hmm. John, you got my back on that one, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then you look at Columbia Daily Tribune, there's some stories you have to be, they block you out unless you pay and subscribe. And I get it. And I think they should. It's, all the content on the web should not necessarily be free. You want our news content, we don't make you pay at 939theeagle.com or kwos.com.
People have been using, there's this new service that allows you to get around to paywall. And I'm like, is this like our version of Napster? Is it legal? Like, I don't understand how it works, but it freaks me out to click on it.
Because Control Shift End to take you incognito.
That worked for a while.
Yeah,
not anymore.
Not anymore. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. We are picking winners and losers of the week 5 minutes from now. Text us your nominees, 874-9390.
Getting married's kind of like buying a new car. You know when you see that car on the showroom floor just before you take it home? Yeah, that's as good as it's ever going to look. Pretty soon it'll have dents and scratches, parts start to go bad, then the new models come out and you're like, oh.
That applies for both. For us dudes, too. I want to make sure nobody thinks they're triggered because they think that's sexist. And, Hannah, don't let that scare you. Some people, then there's some people that actually, as you get older, I think there's something to be said about what we consider older people. Kevin Costner was...
Yeah, they're like... I don't know that I could say... I don't know that I want to say it. There's a
Hold up. You want me to turn the mics off and you can tell me and then...
It's a trap.
The TikToks are talking about Zaddy is like a hotter, older guy. And there's an acronym for mothers that I won't repeat on air that are kind of also having a moment.
There's one for grandmas too, incidentally.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. There is, really. GTS it, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a recognition that as people get older, they can still be quite attractive.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. Feel Good Friday edition of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
By the way, Stephanie, I tell you, between you and Hannah, you guys, some of your things you bring up. Stephanie is going to be gone next week. What you going to be up to?
Well, I'm going to Georgia for the runoff and to do some election day. What?
Oh, I was just wondering, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up on air.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Election day operations down there, working with other Republican lawyers on just election integrity. And then my law partner, Mark, is winning Republican National Lawyers Association Lawyer of the Year. And so we're headed to D.C. There'll be a big reception honoring him. Yeah.
How about that from Ellinger and Associates, Mr. Brian Houseworth is here. There is Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. If there is something that we can do for you, let us know. 874-9390.
And now for nominees for the winners and losers of the week.
All right, winners and losers of the week. We appreciate your submissions throughout the week. We just collect some of the folks. We always like the more localer, the more better. But a lot of national stuff. Actually, I think some national stuff, too. I think who you have for statewide stuff, I think there's some easy winners for winners of the week, even on a state level, things that affected us here in mid-Missouri. Who do you have for winners, losers of the week?
Well, I was thinking on a national level, an easy one was, are we calling him still Kanye? I mean, that guy is like imploding, and he just needs to go away. Yeah. Big time loser this week.
Mr. Brian Houseworth. Winners, losers?
Don't have any losers. I have two winners.
Go figure.
This week, it involves the Blair Oaks football team and what they've done. First of all, Dylan Hare is a young man who is just, and John Marshall know this name. I mean, what he's done at Blair Oaks is incredible. Only player in Missouri history to ever have 10,000 passing yards, 5,000 rushing yards is amazing and very impressive. And the other winners I'm going to nominate, Kevin Kelly and Steve Duncan. They're names that you may not recognize. You'll know the voices. They call Blair Oaks football on our Zimmer station, KWS. They'll be on AM 950 today. Kevin's in the Hall of Fame. Steve's a longtime executive at Central Bank. They do a fabulous job on football. They really do a great job on basketball as well. I mean, it is top notch. It's and I've told Kevin this, it's network quality. You could hear that quality of the broadcast on Learfield. It's that good. I enjoy hearing them, and they'll be great today. That team's going to have their hands full, though, with Lamar.
That's exciting. Happening at Faroe Field. One of my winners of the week, Special Olympics of Missouri, and the folks who showed up, first responders. Mary Carey Turgeon showed up, Jeff City, downtown Wednesday. It was cold Wednesday night, by the way, and did kind of a polar plunge. They have like this, it's a tunnel of water, in effect, that Hazmat uses. And it was cold, but they went out there and did it, I think, almost like $9,000.
You don't see people walking through hazmat showers every day on the streets of Jefferson City, and especially in the wintertime. That's what makes Special Olympics polar plunges so unique, is that it's different. It's an opportunity for people to step outside their comfort zone, just like our athletes do every day.
And especially, I think, you got to give the mayor, Carey Turgeon, some credit. As far as from what I could see from my vantage point, John, she was in a cheerleader outfit. She is a cheerleader for Jefferson City, but she didn't have on a coat. She didn't have on a rank. She had nothing like that. Yeah, it's in special. Seriously, Missouri Special Olympics. Special Olympics has a whole wonderful organization. John, winners, losers. Sorry. A great opinion piece in the Jefferson City News Tribune this week regarding how the process that is involved and how difficult that can be for some of the, and it wasn't specifically marijuana expungements, but it was a really good piece. Check out the Jefferson City News Tribune. As a matter of fact, I was chatting with, there's a company called Como Premium Exteriors in Columbia, and we were talking about, when they're in the line of construction and contract workers, construction workers, for example. And there was a lot of good people. We've made mistakes. I know this. But they have legitimately turned their lives around, and some people still have those convictions. And Jefferson City News Tribune adeptly makes the case, maybe we should make that a little bit easier to get a record expunged, because it can be a hindrance on people.
It can be complicated. It's very tough. And again, it is. It is. Let's also point out, too, that there are very, very few people that are in the penitentiary. I can tell you this, that are in there strictly for drugs. Now, we don't know how many are in there for marijuana, but possession of a controlled substance, unless it's a large amount, they're going to get probation. There's not enough bed space in the prisons. And Brandon, I can't wait to see your segment on This Week in Missouri Politics. You do a great job, and I'm very fascinated to see Jess Piper, too, because if the Democrats are going to have any success, I mean, people talk about the Republicans that they're,
specifically in Missouri.
In Missouri, specifically, yes, because the Democrats have a lot of strength in the cities and the coasts. But you look at the map nationwide, and this country, by and large, map-wise, is red. There is no question. That said, the big cities, which control the population, very Democratic. But, she spent a lot of money, and she was only able to get about 25% of the vote. That was her first time running, but I've heard the same thing Stephanie has. They're looking at her for something bigger, maybe a statewide position. I don't know what it would be, though, because if she were to challenge Sam Graves, that's Ruby Red District. I don't see her winning that.
Another local winner of the week, I think, are all of our delivery drivers. We talked earlier about the new Amazon facility outside of Ashland has delivered 1 million packages since its opening this summer, and they expect the 1 million more packages to come out of that facility just in the month of December. And so, we talk about worker shortages, but apparently they're doing something over there, because they got to have a lot of folks to deliver that many packages. I haven't had any issues with getting things on time. And so my porch has been stacked up with stuff.
They know the Bell household.
Right. So I think it's a good, and I think we can get really frustrated. I have been frustrated by, a missed delivery or a late delivery from time to time, but it's a good time to remember that these folks are really busy, and to give them an extra high five or a smile if you see them around town.
And the UPS drivers, the FedEx drivers, man, those dudes, those men and women that work for FedEx, UPS, Amazon, they rock and roll through the. It's amazing what it is that they.
That is true.
Producer Hannah, you got what do you got in the way of winners and losers of the week?
Mizzou men's basketball. Sorry, Mizzou women's team. The men's basketball team, of course, is off to an 8-0 start. They're number 1 in the SEC right now, and obviously it's early in the season, but it's exciting to see them, kind of start on a hot streak.
Yeah, Mizzou women's basketball, they are 7-1. Neither one of them have begun conference play yet. Those records can be padded a little bit, but still, especially with the Mizzou men's basketball team, you got a new coach in Daryl Gates, and you got, these are kids playing ball, so I get excited for them.
To the point where to follow up on what Hannah said, the KU game, which is really a huge yardstick. I know it's not a conference game, but I mean it's just amazing. A week from tomorrow, sold out at the Mizzou Arena, 4:15 on ESPN. They're actually offering right now extra tailgating options. You can purchase TVs, you can purchase tents, and I'll talk more about that in the sports next week. But if you've got a couple $100 extra sitting around and you want to really get and live that game in luxury, there are options for you. And I've never seen them do that before. That's how big that game is coming up against KU. And, of course, when Bill Self comes walking out of the tunnel, I'm sure you'll hear some boos.
Yeah. You'll hear him now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Is that capping off your list, Hannah?
Can we nominate the Missouri Dems
for winners?
Yeah. For losers, for making gun control their top issue, apparently in pre-filing?
We'll take that. I want to nominate. I'm going to do two here at the same time. Fox's Pete Ducey is winner of the week, and the White House. And Karine Jean-Pierre, loser of the week. Fox's Pete Ducey asking, okay, so he asked Karine Jean-Pierre, so the White House, they're all over Twitter, right? Elon owns Twitter. Oh, my God, people are going to, say things that we disagree with. And the White House just hating on Twitter. Fox's Pete Ducey, great question.
When are you guys going to delete the White House Twitter account?
Why would we do that?
Well, you're saying that you're keeping an eye on Twitter.
I love that. Well, why would we do that? Because you hate it. You're talking all negative about it, so when are you going to delete your account? Oh, you're not deleting it, so it must not be that bad. And then, again, Fox's Pete Ducey for winner and Karine Jean-Pierre for loser for, in effect, lying in this response to Fox's Pete Ducey.
Thank you, Karine. Kevin McCarthy says that he invited President Biden down to the border. How does the president RSVP? We know the president's never been down to the border. The possible next speaker says that he wants him to go with him, so is he going to?
So, look, he's been there. He's been to the border.
President Biden has not been to the border. Not been to the border. Best anybody can tell, he was there in 2008. I think even before he was elected vice president. He's not been there, and they continue to lie. The president's been down. No, he hasn't. He won't look at it because he knows how bad it is. And I'll also pick PolitiFact for their false fact check saying, oh, the border is secure, because they're all saying the border is secure, and it's not.
Well, if you close your eyes and don't look, problems aren't there, right?
Yeah. If I don't see it, if I'm not, yes. By the way, Mark McCloskey, former U.S. Senate candidate, is coming on the show next week. We're going to talk about gun control here in Missouri.
And I got to
had an interesting tweet.
I got to nominate the guy for winner of the week.
Can we do this? Because this is good. Can we take a break?
There are some things you can't unsee.
And we will share why Mark McCloskey's on the list, too. How come? It's coming up 5 minutes from now.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers. Enjoy.
All right, here in the leftover refrigerator, we are still going through winners and losers of the week. Mark McCloskey, who, of course, well, he ran for U.S. Senate, claimed to fame. He was the guy, the famous photograph when BLM came ripping through his property, and he stood out and defended his property thanks to the Second Amendment of the United States to the Constitution. Still got lambasted over it. He's actually on the show next week talking about David Tyson Smith's proposal.
Now he's showing off a different set of guns.
And I don't know, is this... Yeah, that's good. And is he on the list as a winner or a loser?
A winner.
Yes.
Okay.
A winner. He says on Twitter, turned 66 today and started with my regular routine. And there is a shirtless picture of him. He is wearing sweatpants and a big cross necklace, which he wears a lot. But he's looking fit. I mean, and so good for him on like maintaining a regular routine and maintaining a lifestyle that is healthy.
Yeah.
And good on him for having the confidence to post a shirtless picture of himself. It's giving me kind of like Sylvester Stallone vibes, maybe.
Yeah, it kind of is.
So like you can tell there's muscle there, but
he doesn't have a six pack, but he's fit. I mean, he's fit for.
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon's granddaughter thinks that he's stacked. We ought to show her this picture.
Grandpa Brandon stacked. I can imagine little Harper Lee. Mark McCloskey stacked, man. But we were talking earlier. We were talking about there was a comedy segment regarding getting married is kind of like buying a new car. That's the best that car is ever going to look, and it equates it to a spouse. That's the best it's ever going to be because it depreciates. Your spouse depreciates like a car. Go both ways. We were talking about this appreciation for older people, not older people, but you know what I'm saying.
No. What are you saying? Keep going.
And I'll go back. Coach Gary Pinkel in the studio this week. Like, the dude looks better now than even when he was coaching. And remember, he dealt with cancer. And he was in the studio, and I was like, man, because he was wearing, like, the athletic Under Armour dry fit material. The dude looked good.
Yeah.
Don't mention dry fit. Someone will get triggered.
And Mark...
Me?
But he's old.
That stuff doesn't look good on anybody. I'm sorry.
No?
Don't wear it.
You mean like the Under Armour workout stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. By the way, Stephanie's
it's on my list.
Suck list. She doesn't like puppy breath and dry fit material and sandwiches and birds. We're doing this one of the things. So Oprah every year and ranch dressing.
It's a long list.
I had asked her the other day, if she was interested in ordering a sweatshirt I was looking at, and she said if it's dry fit, I'm out. It looks terrible on everyone.
Yeah, you can be the fittest person ever, and it will still make you look like not good.
Also, I would have so winners and losers of the week. We'll put McCloskey on there, and the other reason is because you never know how that's going to be received or perceived. Hey, you're bold for doing that, and saying, "Hey, I'm 66, I'm in good shape," or, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? That's gross. You don't put stuff like that out." But he did it.
He should challenge other politicians. Say, hey, let me, anybody who's talking trash on Mark McCloskey's like, let me see your picture. All right, let's step it up. I like it.
John, you are one of our winners of the week. Coming up, we are just minutes away from the Gary Nolan Show. It happens to be my dad's favorite talk show here on the radio stations. Gary Nolan Show is next. See ya.
Bye.